why the subconscious is giving you that excuse is because it wants to conserve energy. Hey guys, Chase E here, and in this video we're going to be talking about why these top money-making courses don't work and what you can do to fix them. So we're going to jump right into it. And the reason, or the number one reason why these courses don't work is because they fail to teach you how to actually implement the changes that they ask you to take. So, for example, they teach you the skill, right? The skill set that you need to make money, but they don't teach you how to get there. And maybe the best way I can explain this is through an example of you actually taking the course. So say you've purchased one of these expensive courses before, and you're going through it, you're coming across some all this amazing information that's life-changing, but then you get to that one point in time where they say something or they tell you something that you need to do in order to get a certain result, and you have this inner dialogue going on in your head where you're like, ooh, that makes me a little uncomfortable. It's not that big of a deal. I don't think I'm gonna have to do that. I can find a way around that, right? And then you justify it all because it's really kind of a small piece of the larger puzzle. But what ends up happening is that the more you go through the course, the larger that bucket or that container gets of things that you don't want to do, and eventually you get through the whole course and that container is large enough to where you can't actually get the results that you want. And this has been, I know this from personal experience, which is why I'm actually talking about it, which led me down a deep study and all that kind of stuff. But basically what's happened is that the containers got large enough to where you can no longer get the results that you want to get, and now the course is a waste of time, and you kind of just go and you do your thing, and you don't get the value that course promised. And so that's what the course is missing. It's missing explaining how to actually take that bucket and actually take action on it, right? They give you just really kind of loosey-goosey, like just take action, ignore, all that kind of stuff. But in this video, we're actually going to dive in deep on how to actually take that bucket, take that container, what's going on in your mind, and how to outthink it so that you can actually take action on those items and then get the results from those courses that you paid for. So in order to attack that bucket and demolish it and get rid of its existence, is you have to understand what's going on in your head. So what's happening is when you're watching these courses and you come across a portion that you are uncomfortable doing, your mind is digesting this information, and when it comes across an action that it doesn't want to take, it's uncomfortable with it, right? And that's the message that it sends to your conscience. But the reason it's sending, you have to understand the reason behind why it's sending that message. And to understand the reasons behind that, we have to understand how your mind works. So your mind is split into two main categories. You have your conscience and you have your subconscious, right? The conscience is the you that's thinking and focusing on me right now, right? It's singular focused. It focuses down. It doesn't multitask. It has the ability to think logically, rationally, and it has the ability to see in the future, right? You can see or predict how your day is going to go based off of certain things that happen earlier in the day. Whereas your subconscious is the opposite of that, right? It's the other side. It is responsible for your automatic system, so all your habits, eating, thinking, walking, talking, all of those things that your body does that you don't have to think about, the subconscious takes care of. And it operates as your database and your memory center. So very, very powerful. It's remarkable. But those are the two dominant halves. Now what happens is when you're watching these courses and they're telling you to do something that you're uncomfortable with, your conscious mind is feeding that course information into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious is like, ooh, hey, we don't have a habit for that. We're not used to doing that. So we're actually uncomfortable doing that. And so your subconscious sends a message back to your conscience as a, hey, we're uncomfortable doing that. We're not used to that. Let's not do that. the information that your subconscious is feeding your conscious. Now, what has happened though is because we don't understand how the mind works and we're not taught this, is that we've all created the bad habit of when our subconscious feeds us information, we take that as the decision. But that's not how the mind is supposed to work. So when your conscience doesn't have a habit installed and is uncomfortable with, is not used to doing things that this person is asking you to do, we're taking that response, the feedback from your subconscious, as the decision. But the problem with that is that your subconscious does not understand the word or the concept of future. Okay? So your subconscious is only thinking in the present. It's only operating in the present. It's responsible for your automatic system. So it's only maintaining your current state. It wants you to be as happy as possible in your current state. It's not thinking about the future. It can't think about the future. It's just talking about your current state. Whereas your conscience is the other side of that, and your conscience has the responsibility to plan and see in the future and plan based off of that future on what's best to do. But the problem is that we don't have a habit installed. We haven't learned how to make conscious decisions that overrule our subconscious, right? So we get caught in this bad habit of constantly listening to our subconscious making decisions, but our subconscious is rooted in the present, and so it's just optimizing for temporary happiness, which, as I'm sure you know, is not very promising for long-term happiness. And so what we need to do is we need to take the responses coming from our subconscious not as decisions, but as options. And we need to compare them against our conscious long-term goals. And if they do not align with our conscious long-term goals, our future goals, then we need to ignore them. Because the way the mind is set up is that the subconscious is always going to submit to the conscious. You know, when it comes to actual decision making, when you make a real conscious decision, your subconscious has to yield and it has to submit. But we haven't built up that muscle, we're not used to it, so the subconscious has now kind of defaulted to making all the decisions for us, which is why it's so important to have goals. But beside the point. So what we need to do is we need to take that information that the subconscious is feeding us, compare it against our long-term goals, and then if it does not align with our long-term goals, we need to ask for new information or another option from the brain, from your subconscious, that actually does align with our long-term goals. So kind of bringing that back into this whole course situation is when the course is asking you to make, 10 cold calls a day or whatever it is, and your subconscious is like, hey, I'm uncomfortable with that. You need to compare that discomfort against your long-term goals and understand that the only reason why the subconscious is giving you that excuse is because it wants to conserve energy, right? Because doing things with the conscience, with a conscious mind, requires a lot more energy and resources than doing it subconsciously, right? Writing a book takes a lot more effort than, breathing, because breathing is an automatic habit, whereas writing a book actually takes a conscious, your conscious mind. And so all your discomfort, all your fears, all of that is actually rooted in the fact that you don't have habits created, and so it requires more energy. So your subconscious is just trying to preserve energy, which is why it's trying to communicate to you and generate any excuse it can to get you from taking action. So you need to go through the course that you purchased, the expensive course that, is going to make you lots of money, but you weren't able to take action on. You need to take that course, you need to create that bucket, that container of things that you're uncomfortable doing, and you need to compare those actions that the teacher is asking you to take. You need to compare those up against your long-term goal. And if your long-term goal is to make more money and the information you're learning in that course is going to do that, then you need to bypass your subconscious and make conscious decisions in the moment to take those actions, to take those steps, so that you can actually get the results that the course promised. And like I said, courses don't teach that. They teach you the skill and that's it. But though that is the core functionality, or that is the core gap, the core bridge that you need to turn those, really, really good courses that teach you skills, but actually turn them into, actual life-changing courses. But that's all we have. That's all I'm going to talk about in this one for today. So I wish you the best of luck, and I'll see you in your next, or in my next video.